Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not. And, yeah? Are you scared too? I guess. This movie confused me from the get go. I didn't look up anything. I just knew there was a second one because I saw it was on Tubi, so I started watching it. And was immediately confused. Yes, we get some of the most generic opening credits I've ever seen. Yeah. And even though everything I looked at says, "Are you scared too?" Even in Gubtody's review, it says, "Are you scared too?" with a number 2. This one says TOO for some reason. I don't know. I saw the cast and I saw the name Adam Bush and Tony Todd, but Adam Bush, and I was like, okay, I know him from Mr. Father Shelby Woo, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Of course, Tony Todd is Tony Todd, so I'm like, okay, this should be interesting. And then the movie starts. I'm immediately confused. So we got Dallas, our main character, who's being called by Adam Bush because there is this thing that he's going on with his buddy Andy and their 2 girlfriends, Taryn and Reese. Because he's a part of this internet thing they call Team DNA, Dallas and Andy, where they do these stunts for money, where they have to do things to get these money that are in briefcase things, and I have to keep doing that. There's also this thing called Apocalypse something. It's what leads you to Tony Todd. So I'm watching this, and there's this girl who's being chased by someone. And I look at this girl, and I'm like, is that Kelly? Because she looks like Kelly. It's not. It's not even the same actress, but I thought it was. Like, is that her? And she gets attacked by someone and knocked out and dragged away. And I'm like, okay. So I started to look up the cast. So I decided to go to IMDb because there's no Wikipedia page. It says there is, but you click on it, it leads you back to the first one. So I look on IMDb, it's not the same actress, so it's not her. So I'm watching this, and now Tony Todd seems to be the organizer of this whole thing, where he's behind the scenes in this room the whole time. And I think this is another Singularity situation. Not necessarily that they did reshoots with it, but I feel like they filmed all of Tony Todd's stuff separately from the rest, because even in the scenes where he's confronted by Dallas, they're not in the same shot together. It shows Tony Todd and it cuts to Dallas, and it cuts back to Tony Todd, then back to Dallas. They're never in the same shot. So my thought process is they filmed all his stuff in a couple of days or so, and then shot the rest of the movie. And none of them were ever in the same room with Tony Todd ever. That's what it feels like. Yeah. And if you're wondering, what does this have to do with the first one? Absolutely nothing. Because, yeah, I had to watch Gubtody's review because I couldn't find anything. I was like, what is this? You know, apparently, this was a movie called something else. They say it in the movie, I don't know what it was. Calendar? Something? Hold on. I can look it up. I was way off. I was thinking Count. It's not Count, it's Hunt. So apparently this was a entirely separate movie called Geo Hunt that Lionsgate bought, renamed to be a sequel to their Saw ripoff, and threw it out there. That's how this is. And it's very, very, very low budget. Tony Todd is the biggest star in this movie, and Adam Bush is only at the beginning and the end. So I was disappointed by that, but Tony Todd gets some lines. He's talking to a turtle. He's using a rotary phone for some reason in 2009. 2008 probably when they filmed it. A rotary phone. These guys are pretty good computers. At one point, he's trying to track them with an Etch-a-Sketch. I don't know what these scenes I don't know. And it starts out fine. They find you have Andrew, or Drew. They say three different versions of his name in this movie. They call him Andy, they call him Andrew, they call him Drew. What is it? He does this parkour thing to get the briefcase, being chased by a dog. A dog which is eye level with our characters, which is not how dogs are. They would be at your legs, right? Cool. He's looking at me like, whatever, get it done and feed me. I'm gonna feed him. After this, I swear. Anyway. So, quit looking at this sheet. This sheet's not gonna help you. This is from the first one. You know, the actual movie. The actual Are You Scared? Anyway, there we go. That's a little bit better knowing it. So they get this, and they're like, oh, we got another task. We got to go do this. And so they go there, and they go to some place that's supposed to be in the woods. But the stock footage makes it look like an African safari? I don't know. You got giraffes and shit. Giraffes where are they supposed to be? Giraffes are not in North America unless you're at a zoo. So, and there's gazelles and shit. I don't know what they're doing. But they also see this weird house in the distance. That farmhouse there. And I make me think of the Texas Chainsaw remake, because that's what makes me think of, you know, and Jessica Biel. By the way, Tony Todd is also watching everything via cameras. Cameras that won't exist. At one point there's a close-up of Terrence's ass, or is it Reese's ass? One of the girls' asses. And I went, okay, where's the camera for that? Because it's implied that Tony Todd is watching this part. And I'm like, where's the camera for that? What? You know, it's like the newest Paranormal Activity, where it's like it's supposed to be found footage, but half the time, both of the people who are working the cameras are in the shot, and you're wondering who's filming that, because they decided it's only partially found footage, but it all looks the same footage. To their credit, they do change certain things, but it's still very low quality footage, for the most part. And then, as they're doing their thing, they get knocked out. This is 25 to 30 minutes into the movie. They get knocked out, and now we're in our game. Yeah, now they have to escape from this weird, crazy guy who killed not Kelly and is hanging up her bra and panties and stuff for some reason. And this dude with the mask called the Hulking Brute in the credits. And he's a Hulking Brute, that's for sure. Yeah. During this chase and trying to get away, Reese is taken. Yeah. And even though the crazy guy, he's gonna let her go, he ends up killing her. And Tony Todd is watching it, and that she's gone. So down to 3. This is very confusing, because Dallas keeps saying we need to go down to the ground level. But then they keep going upstairs. Keep going upstairs. And even it's confusing because a camera shot transition goes down to them. It's okay, we need to make it to the ground level, we can get out. And then they go up again. Why do they keep going up? Are they in the basement? And they're going up to the ground level? It doesn't make any sense. Eventually they find, what is it, blind spot. Cooper, quit looking. Cooper, quit licking. You think I'm distracted? I'm watching. Oh, look, baby. He's not supposed to lick himself. You distracted me. Now what do I say? Eventually they find a blind spot, which is around where, it's not where Tony Todd is, but it's a blind spot where they can't see anything, and they get out again. Like, Andy takes care of the Hulk and Brute at one point, but he's only knocked out. He is not dead. They get up, and then they get separated, because Dallas gets left behind, and even though they're in the middle of a goddamn field, it's really weird, because they get up there, and then the bunker disappears. And then the next shot, it's back. Because it needs to be there now. Because they're like an open field. And then they start running. Dallas gets left behind, and he can't find the other two. They're like, oh no, Dallas, where'd he go? You're in a field. How do you get lost? But no, they decide it's good to be separate. because the hulking brute finds Andy and Taryn and chases them down. Andy is killed by the hulking brute. Taryn takes him out though. Andy gets what is it, like a tree branch through the chest and thrown off the cliff, and Taryn kicks the hulking brute in the face a few times and he falls off the cliff and he dies. Meanwhile, Dallas is dealing with the crazy dude and has had enough of his shit. He hits him with his knee in his face quite a few times and then smashes the hell out of him, going nuts. And eventually, he and Taryn meet up again, but he's too far gone, and she's freaking out because of what happened to Andy, and he knocks her out with his mind, because there's no shot of him hitting her. He just like, and you hear, and then she falls down like she's been hit. I don't know. He decides he's going to go confront Tony Todd, and she's knocked out, and then wakes up, runs off, gets to her car with stock footage, and then drives off. Meanwhile, Dallas has met up with Tony Todd. Again, they're not in the same shot. The camera keeps cutting back and forth, so obviously they were filmed separately. But like Tony Todd's talking about, I taught you the gift of what it feels like to kill somebody. By the way, Tony Todd's voice has to have been messed with here, because I thought when I was hearing things, his voice is modified. It's not as deep as it should be. He kind of talks like this when it should be like this. I don't know, but like he has a gun at one point pointed at Dallas and then puts it down because he's obviously not talking to anyone. And then Dallas leaves, and Tony Todd fires a shot behind him, and it's implied he's dead. We don't really get to see, because then we cut to Adam Bush answering the call for this thing, this apocalypse thing, and it's implied that Dallas is now taking over, being in charge of this game. He's basically Tony Todd now. And the movie ends. And I'm going, what? That's not an ending. What happened to Tony Todd? Is he dead? I don't know. Because they filmed everything separately, so they couldn't really have a climax between them. I don't know. Makes no sense. Dallas has clearly lost his mind, but apparently he's lost his mind enough. He's gone insane enough to now want to orchestrate this thing. Apparently Tony Todd was making a lot of money, but and he's got this speech he's making where he's like, "Where you from?" And Dallas tells him, he's like, "I'm from Wyoming." Wyoming, not Wyoming, what is it? Nebraska. Nebraska, Nigeria, it's all the same. It's really not, but okay. And he's just, I'm like, they wanted a Tony Todd monologue, sure. Because that's what he's famous for, is monologues like in Final Destination. This was, it's not worth your time. Watch the first one, that's fun. This one has nothing to do with it. It's one of those sequels that is only not only an in-name only sequel, but it was never intended to be a sequel. It was a standalone movie. Geohunt. Because they have the whole time they have these GPSs, because the first one had GPS, but it still has GPS. But it's animated so horribly, you cannot follow it whatsoever. And they're trying to follow it, and you have no idea what's going on. At one point, and he just throws it down, and he's had enough of it. I had enough of it, trying to freaking understand it for the first 5 minutes, what it's supposed to be. Nah, I don't know. That's not worth your time. Watch the first one. That one was at least fun. Right? That was fun. This, no. No thanks. You lured me in with Tony Todd. Adam Bush was a little on top. But Tony Todd is fine for what he gives. But it's Tony Todd. He's going to, he's clearly his parts were shot separately from the other stuff because they never once really cross over. So, What are your thoughts on Geo Hunt, or are you scared too? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Sky, and I'll see you in the next one.